How fast can you color grade a short movie? I'll color grade a 1 minute long short movie in 3 intervals. I'll set a timer, first for 1 minute, and let's see what I got in just 1 minute. Then we'll start the timer again, and at 10 minutes we'll take another look and see what got better, and then finally we will let the timer run all the way to 100 minutes, and let's see how much better the end video will get after proper tweaking. Will you see actually the difference between the versions? Maybe not. In the end, you'll see the movie as well. I'll show you my color grading workflow that works when you need to be fast and when you need to be perfect, and learn a bunch of advanced techniques along the way. Okay, well, let's start the challenge. I'm gonna set a timer for 1 minute. And to be honest, 1 minute is such a short time. I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do in 1 minute, but well, let's just start. Okay, go. And pause. I'm actually the voiceover Jonas, so I'll be giving the voiceover while he, well, me, is doing the color grading. So yeah, so that you can actually follow along. Okay, let's continue. First, I add a pre-made power grade with ready-made nodes that takes the capture profile into my working color space ACCCD. Then I select all of the clips and add them into a new group. And whatever I do here in the group post clip happens to all of the clips at once. So I can color grade the whole group as one. The ODT takes the footage to Rec 709, making them look normal. Then I'll choose one of my pre-built looks in my ACCLite look library product. I'll choose Cinemodern, and then let's see how it looks. And then I'll add a color correction node before the look. Exposure down, and let's add a bit of warmth and a bit of contrast, and do all of the clips. And well, then the timer is up. So this is how far I could get in 1 minute. Basically, I just considered the whole movie as one clip without doing any individual color correcting. But the look is still decent because I'm using a pre-made look modification transform. This look has a lot going for it. It has halation, diffusion, film color, grain, and some of the clips are already looking half decent. By the way, the tennis rally in the short movie was shot without an actual tennis ball to make our players able to play more like professionals. And then I added the tennis ball into the clips in After Effects in post, which was actually much harder than I thought. Try to see it yourself if you can notice the fake ball in the movie, in the end of this video. So let's continue. So now let's set the timer for 10 minutes, for the 9 minutes actually. So then it's 10-minute mark. And yeah, let's go. First, I tweak the whole look. Then I start to balance individual clips to match better together. To do this, I'm mostly using the HDR global wheel, as that allows raw-like accuracy, color correcting. Then in some clips, I might use contrast and other tools to match the different lighting between the clips better. I'm using the split screen tool to see few clips that are next to each other at the same time, so I can see how the clip I'm working on matches with other neighboring clips. Now I've done the color correction phase through the clips. I take a look at the graphics and how the look is affecting them. I lower the halation effect, as I don't want it to be so noticeable in the other clips either. Then I lower the lens diffusion as well. Then I decide to add a local tone mapping effect to the whole look. This is an advanced method of working with texture and contrast individually on certain tonal areas, independent from the others. To do this, deselect the areas you don't want to affect, like the deep shadows or the bright highlights, and add a lot of denoise to smooth out the borders between the tonal areas. And then you can work with that area independently. And here, for example, I'm adding 3-dimensionality to the midtones with this technique, without clipping the shadows or highlights. And then the time's up. So now the whole thing is starting to look much better. Most of the time I just used to color correct the individual clips and balance them to each other, and that made a big difference. And when you do it with the proper way, with raw-like accuracy, white balance and exposure, it's really fast as well. And now the look of the film is starting to show through. And in the description, there's a link to my Aces Lite look library product that allows me to grade this fast. Behind the link, you can see all the looks I have in this library and get a better understanding of how you can use them to grade better and faster too. Next, let's start the long timer. So let's let the timer run all the way to 100 minutes. So there's 90 minutes left. So let's go. For the first time, I'm watching the whole video through. I lower the playback resolution to 1/4 for smoother playback. In general, it's a good idea to see how your color grading flows, so watch your video when you do work with it. In the first 10 minutes, I just didn't have the time to do that. Okay, then I start working with the clips again. I tweak the end title to look good. Then I start relighting the clips, if necessary, with the power window and some HSL qualifiers. I target just the face to add a bit of natural looking fill light. And this technique looks very convincing, similar if I would have had a fill light there when I actually shot this. Then I draw the focus to her by lowering the surrounding a bit with an inverse power window. And with this technique, you can really draw the attention to her. And here's the before and after relighting. And when there is more time, we can spend it to do this kind of relighting to individual clips, making them look a bit better. Then I decide to make the sky a bit more blue on few clips as well. This could be considered relighting as well. Then I'm selecting groups of clips and tweaking them to match to each other with the local tone mapping technique and with exposure methods, as before. Then I decide to do a skin tone pass. This is where I make sure that the skin tones are looking similar. In few clips, I adjust the hue versus curves to match that clip's skin tones better with the other clips. Then I decide to start playing around with some analog artifacts. In the Aces Lite look library, there is a tool called Analog Artifacts, which is a set of effect presets that allow you to add some analog looking effects to your video. First, I add film breath, and this is a slight exposure flicker that mimics film cameras. And then I add scan dust that mimics if you would have had a bit of dust in your film scanner. The chromatic aberration that adds the vintage looking color fringing to the edge of the frame. Then lens reflection, which looks like the bright lights would be reflecting inside the lens. This adds an extra layer of depth to your clips, and you can add a bit of color to your overall palette with these as well. And it's a nice way of adding some visual interest. Then I realized that the white text in the starting title is causing issues with the lens reflection effect, as my color management thinks that the 100% white text is super bright. So I add a color space transform node that takes my clips from ACCCT and transforms them to ACCCT. So basically not doing anything, but then I can use the tone mapping tool inside it and limit the bright lights to our desired level with the max output nits. This is a nice way to clean up your clips if you have some odd super bright highlights causing some odd glows. Then I turn the edge blur effect. This adds a slight out of focus effect to the edge of the frame, mimicking some vintage lenses. It's just a small aesthetical thing. Then at this point, my creativity was actually running quite dry. I didn't really know what else to do to improve the look. So the rest of for the next 10 to 20 minutes, I just wasted my time trying to add a nice toning to the look. I played around with some advanced masking techniques, but to be honest, I lost my way and just gave up. I did add a slight cooling tone to the shadows in the end, but something you would not really notice. Then I decided to tweak the chord in these few clips to match better with the others. But to be honest, at this time I was just wasting the rest of the time left. I decided to take a break from grading and let the cache pre-render the video for me so I can watch it through in full resolution after the break. And in general, when you're doing color work, it's a good idea to take a break at some point to refresh your eyes. After the break, I looked at the video through in full resolution and decided to fix the stroke issue with the graphics. It came from the chromatic aberration effect, so I took that away from the first clip. Then, to waste more time, I did some texture work on the skin tones on the close-ups, masking the skin tones and reducing the texture with the mid-tone details tool. Then I used the color warper tool to control the hue variability on some clips, skin tones as well. A bit of an overkill for a short movie like this, I think. But well, I still had some time left to waste. Then I saw one inconsistent light levels on the actor's face when she stepped in front of the reflector, which is outside of the frame. And I added some keyframed fill light to her face to smooth it out. And here I'm just wasting the rest of the time by tweaking the look. Maybe a stronger grain pattern would look good, maybe would have less of that, maybe it would look better, blah blah blah. Then I tested this warming node to make the look a bit warmer. In many of the looks inside the look library, there is an option to warm up or cool down the look. And I ended up liking the lightly warmer look, and I turned that on. And there we go, time is up. So now we have 3 versions of the same movie. 1-minute version, 10-minute version, and a 100-minute version. And this is the end result after 100 minutes. I'm liking it. When I compare the Rec. 709, the look to this look, it has much more dimensionality and character. And I like the subliminal analog artifacts too. And by the way, if there were any particular technique you would like me to make a proper YouTube video about, tell me in the comments and I'll consider it. For example, the local tone mapping technique is such a powerful method that I really need to make my own video about it for sure. And if you want to give this workflow a try, then check out my Aces Lite Look Library product. The library has step-by-step instructions on how to use the same workflow, and it includes currently 11, well actually 19 if you count them differently, 9 or 11 different pre-built looks that are fully customizable, all done with the native tools. Much more powerful than LUTs or DCTLs. Link is in the description and the end of the video. So let's now watch the short movie together and see you in the next YouTube video. Okay, roll the film.